for sure. Start over, Ace.
Okay. Let me share my screen.
Say happy Thursday again, Ace.
Happy Thursday, everybody.
My name is Ace
Like,
Acevedo.
yeah, like I said, this presentation has been in my collection of, where is it? On screen, sorry. Been with me for a while. Like to come, I like to come back and this is desk two. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead. There you go. Sorry, guys, I'm having a hard time pulling it up. There we go. Let me try it again. Share. My guys have seen this. I do this presentation at least once a year, twice a year. Very valuable information. Now you can see my screen, right?
Yes, sir.
There we go. Can you see just the one slide? Or do you see two?
No, just one. Powerful beliefs to create a new life.
All right, so let's get started, guys. Limiting beliefs, starts with, a lot of the perception. Your truth is your truth, and I can't change your truth. But when it comes to limiting beliefs, it all starts somewhere. And I'm going to share this with you, right? The mind is contaminated by emotions, feelings, prejudice, blind spots, denials, projections, paranoia, phobias, fear, regrets, guilt, worries, anxiety, old age, sickness, death, failure, rejection, loss, disaster. Imagine trying to overcome limiting belief with having all this stuff in your brain. So the limiting beliefs, in addition to all foregoing, the mind has also been innocently programmed by, you guys see it, by endless propaganda, political slogans, religious and social dogmas, and continual distortion of facts. I'm going to talk about that a little later. Basically, your story is what's causing a limiting belief to happen in your business or in your personal life. You have continuing distortion of facts, right? And I'm gonna cover. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Falsification, errors, misjudgment, and misinformation. So, you got all these young kids that are growing up in an environment differently than we did. There's a lawsuit going on right now that companies purposely create these apps on their phone, and it's causing kids to, failing school. You see where things happen, and they're recording it. And so they're constantly getting hit with all that stuff. And if they grow up, if we didn't grow up with that stuff, but we still had our limiting beliefs. So watch this, okay? Beliefs of what? Emotions, feelings, thoughts, and imaginations are based on belief, okay? So just because you feel something doesn't mean it's necessarily true. You got it. There's a therapy, an NLP is called timeline therapy. And the timeline therapy, what it does, it helps you identify either with a person on your team or yourself. It helps you identify the moment you have to pick up that drink. And it helps you identify why do you need to pick up that cigarette, right? So the timeline therapy, it says what triggered and go 1 second or 1 minute right before you let your body take the habit. Why am I doing this? So you go one step behind and you identify. We feed our beliefs daily with memes, okay? Or in other words, inner dialogues, we're feeding it every single day. And with those memes from the view of the world, a view of others, okay? We view outside reality through the filters of our belief. So I'll give you an example. And this is a great example that we learned in the 13th presupposition of NLP. And the first one is the map is not the map is not the territory. So I'll give you an example of how that works. The meal is not the menu, right? The menu is an interpretation of what you potentially can get as a meal. So when a person, you're entering somebody else's world, you got to understand that their territory is going to be different than your territory. So their map is not the territory. Their map is just an interpretation of what they think is going to happen. You know, I'm trying really hard to stay away from watching the news and stuff like that. I don't have cable, but man, you turn this crap on. I turn on my computer, and the first thing, boom, 5 people arrested for a brawl. Boom, this sex senator. I mean, it's like constantly that actually grows a fear, right? So we feed our daily news with memes, right? We view outside reality through the filters of our belief. So I'll give you an example. So when you, okay, perfect example. We get 2 million bits of information every second that's coming out towards us, right? The AC's on. People are walking right there in front of my office door, right? I mean, just there's so much information coming at you. And what's going to happen, guys, there's filters. There's one called the F1 filter and the F2 filter. The F1 filter is, how many blue Volkswagen cars did you see on the way up here, right? And so most people are going to say, unless you own one, you're not going to remember seeing it because it wasn't important to you. Now, if you guys remember years ago where they had the Beltway sniper, these 2 guys going around and shooting people, what were people looking for during that sniper?
White
right?
vans.
White vans. And I remember like I was yesterday.
Oh my God,
Did
they
you
were
see
everywhere.
a lot of white? Did you see a lot of white vans?
Every car was a white van.
Every car was a white van. Why? Because now
They're
there's a
important.
belief that if I see a van, I could be next.
Mm-hmm.
So your RAS is opening up, right? So we make and we view the reality through the filters of our beliefs. Once we figured out it wasn't a white van, it was a blue car, right? People were putting tarps over the gas stations, right? They were covering. It was an important moment. So sometimes limiting beliefs can be caused by you going out there and something happened. Something happened in the business. Let's just talk about the business. Something happens, a client said, hell no, get out of my face. You're a scammer, right? So your belief now, that's why people quit, because your belief, well, I guess this is true. And you start creating these beliefs based on the filters that, your beliefs are based on the filters that you've given yourself, and you can lift those filters. Once that information comes into your mind, you can only do 3 things with that information. This is all NLP. You got to delete it. You're going to delete it. You're going to distort it. Okay. And that's information. I'll give you another example. So you're up at night and you hear a big bang in the house. What goes through your mind?
Bunch of stuff. Somebody's here. Somebody broke in.
Somebody broke in, right?
Yeah.
So now what happens is you walk through the kitchen and you see that, let's say, a tree is moving behind your house and it looks like a person is in the backyard. What are you going to do now?
Get your gun.
That's exactly right. Right. But then you notice this, it was really nothing. So what happens is those filters turn on for your protection. But it happens the same way, man, with our business. Right. I used to love going to KTAs when they were going good, but then I hated it when they weren't going good. Right. So then I have a conversation, our business is 95% of it is thinking. So what happened, I'm quoting Hector Lamarck. He goes, you think about while you're in the car, what are they going to say? Are they going to like the presentation? Are they going to do business, right? So those filters start to activate. Life may not follow your conscious desire, but it will follow your beliefs. Okay? We all listen. I want to make $1 million a year, right? But how come I haven't done it? I got to figure it out. What's blocking me, right? And I know what's blocking me in new directs. But it will follow your belief. I believe that this thing is going to pay off handsomely for me and my kids and my family, right? And so the most efficient way to change your behavior is to change your belief. See, they're trying to change their behavior, but what is your, like Gordon was saying, he went to the gym, right? He's talking to himself a different way about his workout. I actually talked myself out of going upstairs on the second floor because I quote unquote hurt my back doing some squats and I was doing really good, but I lost all my muscle mass because going up the stairs to the second floor is like such a long walk, right? So it's the conversation that I'm having with myself versus, well, I'll just do the sauna, which I love the sauna. So instead of changing your behavior, is you got to start with what are some of your beliefs that you have about people? What are some of your beliefs that I have about myself? Right? I talked to Frank yesterday at length, and I said, I'm frustrated, man. I was like, Frank, I want to hit that 100K, bro. And he straight out told me, you're stubborn, bro. You could have been at 100,000 already. I said, why you say that? I said, because I can tell right now it's your belief about the work that's necessary in order for you to go out there and get $100,000 base shot. It's your belief, Ace. I said, he says, all I work with my guys is breaking those limiting beliefs that they are good enough to run a big base shot and maintain a big base shot. And if you notice, the two guys that are number one, the national leaders, I'm going to interview those, both Isaiah and Henry, both did over 160,000. And Henry's going, what's your belief? Oh, he's lucky. No, man, you don't know. His daughter has an aggressive breast cancer, and the daughter's not even 30. He's going back and forth to Arizona all the time with this little baby girl. But you think, oh, everything goes perfect for people like that. No. But his belief is, I have leaders in place, and we're going to keep running a big base shop while I take care of my daughter. Right? So think about what's your belief about, I said this before, there's people that will kill you for their belief, and there's people that are willing to die for their beliefs. As wrong as they are, they're still right because it's their belief, even if it's something horrible. Okay? So now, beliefs, guys, comes with a lot of memes, a lot of things that we say we're not paying attention. So belief consists of coherent sets of memes, right? Like being identity. I'm a good person, right? Potential. I can do good in the business, right? Descriptive categories. I have green eyes, right? That's being descriptive. I got brown eyes, right? Cause and effect, right? So if I say, Matt, go ahead and raise your right hand. Okay, see, that's cause and effect. So if you want people to take action, you got to learn how to cause the effect that you're looking for, right? So cause and effect relationship. I'm a good person because I do good. I do good because I'm a good person, right? So you got to start paying attention. What do you say about yourself? I always tell people that if I talk to you the way you talk to yourself, you wouldn't be friends with me. You'll slap me. Man, I'm such an idiot, blah, blah, blah. And we have to be careful. Conditional relationship. If I do good, I am a good person. If I'm a good person, I do good, right? So these are memes that we live by, right? And so you guys know that the most powerful word in the vocabulary is, in the English vocabulary is what? I am. That's the most important part. And Maxwell says that hurting people hurt people. So sometimes when people are trying to come at you and attack you, it's because they're hurting. You just have to feel pity for them. Okay? So belief have the power to create and the power to destroy. Human beings have the awesome ability to take any experience of their lives and create a meaning that disempowers them or that can literally save their lives. That's Anthony Robbins or Tony Robbins. They can literally, like, you can put strong meaning to something that can disempower you. You know, I'll be honest with you. For a long time, I was always, you know, and I told this to Frank. Frank is my mentor. I was like, man, you know, the whole thing, you have to lead by example. I saw bull crap. I saw bull crap. How many of you guys lead by example and some of your teammates still don't do crap? Hello, right? You have the awesome ability. So what happened with me, look, guys, I put my emotions on my sleeve. I'll be honest with you. There was a period of time where I started losing hope with people. Why, Matt? Because I kept saying my limiting belief was, man, I put all my energy into these people, and then they turn around and stab you in the back and quit.
Mhm.
So what's the best way to make sure that doesn't happen, Matt?
Change your
Don't
beliefs.
recruit anybody.
Right.
Right? But then you go, hey, I need a teammate. So my limiting belief was, if I pour all my energy, I feel like I wasted a year or two on this person. So I had to break that, and I had to start believing that, you know, the meaning that I was putting behind the people who were quitting, I just didn't pay attention, and I didn't, and I wasn't paying attention. And Anita was the one, you're wasting your time with that person. I hated that. I hated that. You're wasting your time. Now, I was trying to justify it so I didn't have to go recruit somebody else, right? So that's important. And listen, guys, this is how we interpret, okay? So when you talk about potential, talk about action, talk about results, that creates a new belief, right? When somebody tells you, man, you got potential, they're just telling you you're lazy. Right? Yo, you got the potential to do Primerica. I don't want potential. I want to take action.
Come on.
And those results, guys, that potential will turn into an action, which causes a result, which will cause a belief. Okay. And by the way, this is part of the book called Think Like a Winner. Okay. It's a powerful book. Talks about your belief are coming from the action you took and the results you're getting. That's an empowered belief or disempowered belief. So what you have to do is you have to pay attention, you know, first of all, to analyze yourself. How do I start my morning? You know, how come, you know, we're another month and I'm at 0-0? How come, you know, what am I believing about my abilities? How come, whatever happened to that kid he said he was going to pass the test? He's still around? Solomon or something like that?
Comes
They
around.
have,
Well,
and listen, you know what the biggest disempowering belief right now, believe it or not, Deepak, is people saying that the securities license, they don't take the test because they say it's hard.
right.
True.
It's not harder than the life, but there's a belief somewhere. Maybe we're doing it to our guys. Maybe we're telling them, oh, this test is really hard. I said that a long time. I'm like, no, it's not. It's all, I'm not, I failed out of school and I passed it on the first try. Okay, so they have that limited belief. Maybe we're putting that belief in their hands. Okay. So what is a limiting belief? Here's the definition. What's going on here, man? A limiting belief is one that causes life to be less than completely satisfying. Okay? Something that is blocking something that you want, and it makes life less than satisfying. Primerica is fun when you're doing appointments, when you're recruiting people, when you're getting people licensed, you're writing personal sales, you're writing securities, right? It's fun. You know what sucks? Thinking about Primerica. The work that's required. Do I have to prospect today? How many people did I get my names today? Right? That sucks. But you have to attach something more satisfying. Hey, man, that next phone call could be the one person, right? There's a cliche in the company. You're one person away from an explosion. And that person could be the next one. Okay. Two, limiting beliefs have more of a negative impact on your life than any other factor. A negative limiting belief will make you sick. Telling you, look it up. Stress, cortisol, that limiting belief is going to be constantly making you sick, making you sick. See, Deepak, you got to ask yourself this question. Why isn't that all of us are not writing 600,000 a year worth of securities? Have you ever asked, by the way, I'll give you an example of how NLP is used on the FBI. And this is a perfect example. The FBI, their sniper classes, the FBI had only a 20% success rate of people graduating as snipers for the FBI. 20% success rate. So Richard Bandler, who created NLP with Virginia Satir, Milton Erickson, these are all like experts in their field. Like Milton Erickson was the most powerful hypnotherapist in the world. Virginia Satir was a family counselor. And what they did is they created this pattern. By the way, the definition of NLP is the art and study of excellence. You with me? That's what it is. So they went out there and they actually took the best snipers and then they had them write down, what are you thinking about when you're on the floor? What are you thinking about when you have the target on sight? What's your body language like when you're about to shoot? Are you breathing in or are you breathing out when you pull the trigger? They went through a series of questions. I'm gonna watch this, Matt. Went through a series of questions from the best of the company. I mean, in the FBI snipers. So when they got the next class, they trained all the upcoming snipers. They trained them on following all the steps of the best ones.
They were great.
And guess what happened?
They were great.
Instead, they 80% of the students graduated.
Right?
Instead of 20.
Wow.
Because what they did is they eliminated, man, this is man, 10x it's an incredible book, right? 10x is equal to 2x. He goes, when you raise your standards, he says it in the book, and you set a goal that is pretty sizable, right? He goes, what happens is you start to eliminate stuff that doesn't matter because the stuff that you do now is a 2x work. So I have to 10x my activity, but here's more importantly. If Deepak is in this group, right? If Deepak's here and we know he just went over 600,000, what I would do, and I'm planning to, I know Anita talks a lot to Tony, and we want to find out what's working for you. How do you get, and I'm seeing Deepak's presentation, they're not complicated at all. He's not going to talk about the coefficient of the market and they just want to know, can I make money? Are you with me? So you would do is you would interview Deepak and say, okay, Deepak, when you first got started, what was your daily habits like? What were you thinking about in the morning? How did you get into the market for the securities? Right? And then you ask specific questions, and that's what's going to happen. Now you have to practice those, create new beliefs, and then practice what Deepak did, and you get what Deepak has. We live in an area, guys, where my organization this year has recruited over 2,100 people. And we still meet people that have never heard of Primerica. And we live in such a wealthy county and state. Look, the highest income in Maryland has the highest African-American income earners in the country. The average African-American home makes $88,000, husband and wife combined, which is one of the highest. Okay, so you got to understand, to do that, I want to make sure I stay on time. What time is it? Okay, so to do that, we got to start discovering your limiting beliefs. So imagine the FBI can turn it around just to become shooters, imagine what you can do in your business, right? And that's one of the things, guys, that frustrates the crap out of me. When you got all these big time base shop leaders, and they go out there and they don't say crap. I don't listen. I go to the conventions. I don't like them. I'm gonna be honest with you. They don't teach anything in 15 minutes and put a bunch. What I like to do is I like to have less and get more. You with me? Less speakers and more. So to change anything, you first must identify it. You got to identify, why is it that I do this? Why is it that I get distracted? You know, when I'm supposed to be doing this. And what happens is your life becomes like you're frustrated. You don't know why. And it's because you haven't identified your limiting beliefs and how it's either affecting you. Hey, look, my beliefs also becomes your habits. Okay, so I came to the office. I come to the office. I'm in the office every day, 6 days a week. That's a habit that I created because if I stay home, like today, I overslept. But I'm usually at the office around 7:30, 8 o'clock. I'm usually here at the office. It's quiet. I keep the lights off. I get to work on my personal development. I get to have, write my planner, what's going to happen, right? So it's important to stay relevant. We all have tons of limiting beliefs, okay? But the truth is that many of them are irrelevant. They're relevant to your team, to build your business. Only worry about the limiting beliefs that are going to have the greatest impact. See, like, it's like saying, like, people, when I invite them to church, they go, well, I want to get my life right first before I go to church because I feel like a hypocrite. I said, well, let me ask you, do you clean yourself before you get in the shower, or do you get in the shower to get clean? Right? And so I tell people, you come as you are and as you want to be. So only worry about the things that are going to have the biggest impact in your business. Okay? Like, the greatest impact is learning how to connect with people. Tony knows that in this building, I know almost every single person in this building by name, and they know me by name because I make it my business to go out there and get to meet them. So they call me, Gordon, the ambassador of the lounge building. Because hey, Tom, how you doing, man? How's it? Did you ever go to, where were you? I haven't seen you in a week. Hey, Amanda, what's going on? You look dressed. You must have a client today, right? So you got to be able to connect with people. And eventually, there's a couple here in the building. They're a psychiatrist. And, she always sees me with a nice jacket and stuff like that. And then she came out and said the other day, Ace, what do you do? Well, I'm glad you asked. I said, I work in this area, personal finances. And guess what they all say? I need to talk to you. I always say that, but they never really come by and do it, right? So only worry about those things. Limiting beliefs, listen, things like, I know this sounds kindergarten, but they say things like, I can't, man, I can never get my business off the ground. I always screw up this thing. I should have said that. What aspect of your life would you like to change and create a new story? I'm going to cover a couple more slides. So here's how most people, sorry for the fonts. Okay, I haven't spell checked it, right? This is how most people live their life. They start by telling them the story, which create thoughts, and those thoughts create a feeling. And that feeling is going to have you take action. Listen, I'll give you a story. Even, let's say I don't smoke, right? But even smoking, there's a positive reason why people smoke. Anybody want to take a guess? What's the positive?
The stress relief.
Okay.
So people say.
Taking a deep breath.
Yeah, exactly. The deep breathing.
Deep breathing. It's a form of meditation. When I do my meditation, Beth, I take four. I count to 4 and I breathe in. I hold it 3 or 4 seconds, and I breathe out. If you watch a cigarette person, that's exactly what they're doing. They're slowing down their breathing to get a sense of relaxation. Wow. Just eliminate right? So even though it's a negative one, it's still a positive because it's controlling the breathing pattern and slowing it down.
Wow.
So that's what most people are doing today. When you see them smoking,
They're
I try not to get around those people because smoke to me gives me a headache,
They're really
right? And then,
meditating. They're just meditating outside.
that's it. And Matt, what I do is I don't smoke, so guess what I do? I walk around the lake a couple times, right? It's about a mile,
Breathe.
and I'm breathing, and so I put the noise cancellation. I'll put on meditation music, and then I'm just trying to figure out, okay, universe, I need to close 3,000 in premium by the end of tomorrow night.
Mm.
Okay, and I'm breathing and relaxing, and by doing that, I lowered my cholesterol, I lowered my high blood pressure. It was not out of control, but it was high. And then I do the same thing in the gym. Luckily, the phones don't work in the sauna, so I'm there with my thoughts, right? And so that's important, right? What some of the beliefs are, well, the reason I believe is I never got good education. My family's all dysfunctional. Nobody wants to give me an appointment.
All just excuses.
Just excuses, but it's their belief, so you can't battle it. You just have to say, well, listen, I have, well, now some of them have passed away, but I had 36 uncles and aunts. I have like over 100 plus cousins. And guess how many are in the business? Zero.
One or two.
Zero. None. Out of my 36 aunts and uncle, I don't think any of them. Yeah, I don't have any of that are my clients. The only ones that are my client is my parents and my sisters, my three sisters.
Wow.
Yep. And they all have a few $100,000 saved already for retirement.
Crazy.
Right? Oh, well, I have health issues or whatever it is, it's always. So you got to do is, your story makes me think what? My story makes me feel what? Right? So that's important because of the way I feel, I think I do this. Listen, I'm a very emotional guy. I'm probably worse than Allison, okay?
I don't know if
I get emotional, if, like, for example, my daughter has this boyfriend now, and I told her you got a curfew, and I don't feel comfortable. I'm an old school guy. I don't feel comfortable, blah, blah. And I kind of lashed out at her and really hurt her. Okay. So I apologize. I'm so sorry, baby. This is all new to me. Please forgive me. Well, no. And then for 2 days, I feel hurt. Did I hurt her? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So then I got to figure out what do I have to do to make sure we'll go back to the way we were, yes, daddy, love you, all that kind of stuff. So, and experience the following results. Okay. So that's important. I want to share. Now, here's the way you should think. So before it was like your story, right? What are the results you want? What are the actions you got to take? And what feelings, because again, it's all about feelings. What feelings do I have that's causing me to have these thoughts that is writing a new story? Don't tell your story now. Tell your story at the end and rewrite that story. And then I'll just stop from this page because it's a lot. Desired state and goals. So actions are what can I do to get the results I want?
Mhm.
If you ask yourself good questions, you start cutting down. Like, for example, an NLP is there's a saying you create your own world, Beth, and then you walk in your world. Remember, the map is not the territory. And the territory is not the map. Beth and I, we have different maps of the world. However, we have to build a bridge between her world and my world.
That's right.
And that's called pacing and leading. You set the pace and then you lead them in the direction you want to go. The problem is some people don't pay attention to that. The people aspect of, man, they come from a different world. And this is what I tell my kids all the time. Like, why do people do that? I said, we don't know. We don't know that, what kind of past these people have. They don't trust men or something like that. Why? What happened? Let's try to connect that so we can get the results that we're looking for. So let me see. Stop sharing Keynote. Okay, I'm going to show you this last slide here. This is the okay. So the steps to change. Okay. Determine the source of your belief. Okay. Ask yourself if the belief is true. You understand, back in the 1500s, scientists, and again, I apologize for the fonts because it was on PowerPoint and I moved it over to Keynote, and so that's supposed to say change. Okay. They thought that the world was flat, right? Remember that? Some people still think the world is flat. Determine the source of your belief. So where did that limiting belief come from? So ask yourself if the belief is true. Then number two, ask yourself, where is the source coming from? I'm not a good reader. Well, where did that come from? I can never retain people. Well, where did that come from? What determine that, right? The next one is your declaration. So it's important that you got to imagine being free from that belief. So, Prince, I'll give you an example. When I went to my first Anthony Robbins Personal Power 2, I went to the one in Jersey. We walked on fire. It was an incredible experience. I was 20 something years ago, and it was still $1,000 per person.
Wow.
Not including hotels. But I remember, guys, and this helped me so much. And I might be able to help one or two of you guys today. I remember Tony Robbins. Imagine there's 3,000 or 4,000 people. Tony Robbins laid us on the floor of the arena. They turned down the lights and they did an experiment. What is the number one belief that you think is holding you back?
Mm.
And so that experiment for me is like, man, getting that ring seems like it's so long, so far away. Well, where did you get that from? Well, I'm not. I was having a conversation with myself. He says, so now I want you to imagine that in your brain, you have a little tiny rocket ship. And that little tiny rocket ship is going to go, and I don't have a CD. They don't make CDs anymore. Let's see if I have a CD. I don't. But he says, pretend that little rocket is grabbing that belief, right? And what happens if I have a CD and I scratch the CD?
Don't work no more.
It won't work. But would you agree that the data is still in the CD?
Oh, yeah, correct. Yeah.
Right. So what I did was, even though I had a little bit of doubt, I saw myself scratching that CD and rewriting it, because it's never going to go away. You're just going to scratch it from your mind until that neural connections, dendrite cabling, they start to die off. I don't know if you guys know that. So those neural connections in that, they start to die off. So what happened was I started imagining the ring. Okay, this is a true story. And I started acting. What would I act like? How would I walk in a room at a big event at a fast-start school if I was a six-figure earner with the company? How would I act like? What would I look like? What would I dress like? Right? How would my confidence be? So I started rewriting that, and I started acting like I already have my 100 grand coming in. The checks just haven't gotten to the office yet. And I kept saying that. And the money's on the way.
Right.
Money's already on the way, and I'm not going to worry about it. So what happened, I literally got my ring. And this is what I tell my team now. We got 82 licenses in the base shop. When I got the ring, we only had 8. And when I got the watch, we only have 4.
Hmm.
You don't need 100 codes to make 100,000 here. Hector, how many licenses did you have when you got your ring?
Probably less than 10.
Less than 10.
Hmm.
Right? And so that was a belief that I broke. I wrote more premium when we did 250,000 through just me and one of my RVPs. We did just 2 of us. Now I got 15 RVPs. If we break 200,000, that's so some of the beliefs that are out there, most people are not identifying. They just think, let me just grab a bunch of more recruits and see what happens. Maybe I'll get lucky. Not if you have those limiting beliefs. Replace that belief. So I got the ring and then I took it to the next level. And this was in 2003. Okay. I started reading a book called Beyond Positive Thinking. I read that book, I would say minimum 8 times, and I had the audio. So I took it to the next level. So I was at 100,000 and I grew my income to 189,000 within 6 months. So what happened was I started really, really conquering. And guys, I'm full of limiting beliefs, right? Because I'm like, dude, I got to get this base shop to minimum 50. 50,000 will pay me freaking 700,000, you know? Replace that and then find the evidence. That's the key one right there. Find the evidence of the new belief. Make sense? So most people, you got to find the evidence, and then what do? Test yourself.
This is great, man.
You got to test yourself to see if the new belief has been implanted and it's taken to your mind, right? Remember, it's a feeling, it's an emotion. So breaking those limited beliefs, it's going to take some work because a lot of the beliefs that we have, were given to us a long time ago.
Yeah.
A long time ago. That's why if you have young kids, folks, believe it or not, Fox McGee, he's the guy who trained Gordon. When my son was born and my daughter was born, he said something. He doesn't even have kids, okay? He said to me, this is when my son was a baby. He said, man, you have an awesome job creating powerful, unlimited potential on those kids.
Right.
And so what I started doing is I started breathing life into my kids, and I started giving them money to read books, right? And I started teaching them, like this last couple of days, like I said, I've been funky. My son is like, Dad, put your chin up. You didn't raise me that way. Have confidence. What you're doing. That's what he's telling. He's checking me.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, come on. And he'll go like this under my chin. Son, I'm just frustrated right now on the visit. Don't matter. That's how he's telling me. It doesn't matter. Move forward, right? And so now, my daughter's going to be a mechanical engineer. She wants to study robots at Maryland. My son is going to finish his senior year at Penn State, right? He's an A student, and his belief level is through the roof. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it happen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if you have young kids, man, don't say stupid things like, what do you think? Money grows on trees?
That's right.
Don't say things like, because you're casting a dark cloud.
Yeah.
Things are too expensive. For who?
Yeah.
For you, okay, but don't put that on your kids or on your teammates. And by the way, who was it? It was Christian David that told me this, and I'll finish with this. Christian David told me when Tony Reyna had this young girl in his team named Avia Parker.
Plumber.
Avia Plumber, who got the watch as a district or division, right? Made 50 grand. She was a sharp young lady.
Mm-hmm.
And then Christian said to me, just because you didn't do it as a district or division doesn't mean you can't train and find somebody to do it as a district and a division.
Mm-hmm.
And that was powerful for me because Miguel Lazo and then Ursula both got their watches as divisions.
Yeah.
And then Miguel and Lazo and Ursula got their rings literally months after they go out repeat, like three or 4 months. Right. So I started breathing. Yeah, you could do 10,000 personal. Nobody was doing it back then, but yeah, you could do 10,000 personal. Man, that's only 2.5 sales a week.
Yeah.
So your new people and your teammates, you're going to be the product of their success or not based on the language that you're breathing into your team's life. If you bring, hey, Jay, it's okay, Jay. I tell Jay all the time, man, it's like, it's not how long you've been around. It's the moment you're going to cross that stage as a vice president.
That's right.
Right. And then what happens when Jay, because I did it, when Jay starts to think, man, been here 5 years, those are limiting beliefs that say it don't matter. Some day is better than no day.
That's right.
Right. And then you won't forget, Jay, the moment you got that ring and it's all shiny in the box, beautiful, one for you, one for your wife. You know, when you get the watch, they send you a little replica of the rings so you can put it on a necklace and you can see. So I started, and you know what I did? Christian had 2 rings. One of them was broken here. The onyx stone was broken. And I remember that year we went to a convention. I put the ring on the whole convention. I put the ring on. And I started walking around like I'm a ring $100,000 earner. People were coming up to me, asking me for my autograph and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, that's how it feels.
Yeah.
That's how it feels, right? Christian's like, where the hell's my ring? I said, well, you got another one. I'm just using this one for now. And I said to myself, one day my posters are going to be on the street. One day they're going to have a big picture of me. And I just can't imagine. And now it's happened. You know, I'm on brochures and stuff because I imagined it and I broke that belief that, yes, I am good enough.
Yeah.
Yes, I can change my life. Yes, and it can happen very quickly. So,
belief
hope
system.
that helped, guys.
Hey, on the steps to change, the last one is test yourself. How do you test yourself?
Well, if you say, okay, Hector, right, you've always been a top personal producer, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are your beliefs about recruiting and getting somebody like you?
Probably similar to what you said earlier.
So yeah, and then so test yourself. Okay, you could say, what does a recruiter look like? What do they plan? What time are they out of their home, right? What time are they on the phones, right? And then test yourself. Did I focus today on defeating that recruiting number in my brain?
Mm-hmm.
Right? My mindset is if we do less than 10, we ain't gonna do crap. See, like my mindset is, well, this is double digit, you know, getting codes, getting people up and running, another person disappointing you. Test yourself. Okay, so what am I gonna do next now that this person did the same thing like the last person left me, you know, stabbed me in the back and left? I mean, it doesn't happen that often. They just never show up. Right. So that's how you do it. You start taking little tests about what a recruiter does, what Deepak does for securities, right? How does he do it? How many phone calls did he make? Where did he get the referrals from? And start testing. Okay, like I have in my grease board here, I put $3,000 today, right? So what am I going to do to get 3,000 in premium today? How many phone calls am I going to make to get 3,000 today?
Yeah.
Does it make sense? So you start testing yourself, you know, rewrite your story. Gordon, back to you.
Great job, Ace. Thank you.
Great job, man.
Great
All right, Ace, on time, 10 a.m. Hey, for those of you guys that are on the leadership team or the planning team today,